It started with a sound I can still hear if I close my eyes long enough. The sound of someone shushing laughter behind a closed door at midnight. I was 13, standing barefoot in the hallway, holding a birthday card I'd drawn myself because my parents had forgotten again. The lights from that door outlined two shadows instead of one. I heard my father's voice whisper something soft, followed by a woman's giggle that didn't belong to my mother. That was the first time I understood that silence could lie. I didn't know what adultery meant back then, but I knew dishonesty when I saw it. I ran back to my room, knees shaking, and stared at the cracks in my wall until dawn. The next morning, my father smiled at me like nothing had happened, kissed my forehead, and dropped a crisp Rs. 500 note on the table as if money could erase memory. My mother moved through the house as she always did, folding laundry, humming, pretending the world hadn't shifted overnight. I wanted to tell her. I wanted to scream. But something in me whispered don't, because deep down, I knew she already knew. That day, my childhood ended without ceremony, no candlelight, no closure. Just a secret too ugly to carry and too dangerous to drop. Over the years, I turned into someone who measured safety in silence. If things were calm, I thought they were good. I became invisible on purpose, top of my class. No drama, no mistakes. The perfect daughter, the loyal witness, the secret keeper of a home staged for strangers. At 15, I took part-time tutoring jobs, bringing home Rs. 3,000 a month to help pay bills Dad forgot. Mom never asked where the money came from. She just smiled like peace had a price tag. When I turned 17, my father missed my graduation because business travel called. I saw the truth 2 weeks later scrolling through social media. A picture of him and Murray arm around the same woman from my nightmares. That picture shattered more than the lie. It cracked my entire sense of worth. I'd spent 4 years excusing his absence, blaming my tone, my timing, my teenage moods. But seeing that smile on his face, free, guiltless, made me realize I'd just been furniture in a performance. The manipulation was methodical. He'd send gifts after every fight, pay electricity bills just in time so gratitude would drown resentment. He was the kind of man who bought forgiveness in installments. My mother shrank more each year. I watched her stop wearing lipstick, stop meeting friends, stop existing as herself. At 19, I confronted her gently, asked why she stayed. She said, "Because stability is kinder than freedom." That sentence built a cage around my empathy. I decided then I would never confuse endurance with strength again. The trigger moment came a year later. My father fell sick, mild stroke. The hospital bills piled up. I handled everything because she still called him the provider. When I opened his briefcase to look for an insurance card, I found a legal file. Property transfer papers naming another woman as co-owner of the very house my mother had built from her dowry. 4.2 million rupees gone from our lives, replaced by betrayal inked legally. I stared at that signature for an eternity, my heart beat loud enough to drown out the machines in his room. I didn't tell Mom right away. I let the truth sink like poison until it steadied into strategy. For 2 weeks I was quiet, polite, mechanical. I cooked his meals, filled forms, played daughter on autopilot. But behind my calm eyes, I was studying everything: account numbers, property stamps, bank transfers. I met with a legal aid clerk who owed me a favor. She explained how forgery works, what counts as misappropriation, how to draft an injunction silently. I wasn't planning revenge. I was planning release. 4 months later, the moment arrived. He had returned home, half recovered, throwing small dinner gatherings to remind himself he was still admired. One evening, he hosted investors in our living room, men who considered him a financial prodigy. My mother cooked the meal. I served tea. When everyone sat down to discuss his new venture, I connected my laptop to the television. One click and the documents opened. Emails, transfer statements, voice notes of him bragging about moving assets before the wife suspects. The room froze mid-sip. My father's face drained of color. Someone coughed. My mother dropped the serving spoon, hands trembling. I said nothing for 15 seconds, the longest silence of my life. Then I spoke the only sentence that mattered. The provider forgot who provided for him first. My tone was flat, almost gentle, but the weight landed like thunder. One of the investors stood and left without finishing his tea. The others followed quietly. My father's friends turned into ghosts that evening. His name, once whispered with respect, became synonymous with deceit. It took less than 12 minutes for decades of power to vaporize. The fallout was steady and merciless. Lawsuits followed. Clients withdrew. The property transfer was revoked, his new partner vanished, and bankruptcy loomed. My mother filed separation papers, aided by the same legal clerk who'd helped me. We sold what little remained, cleared debts, and moved to a modest apartment that smelled of disinfectant and beginning. For months she barely spoke, but eventually she started laughing again, small cautious laughs that sounded like healing. As for me, I found work managing campaigns for women's startups, teaching them how to monetize independence. Irony has a sense of poetry. Years passed, but the echoes stayed. Every time I walk past a closed door late at night, some part of me still listens for laughter that doesn't belong. The truth I discovered at 13 didn't just haunt me, it educated me. It taught me to read silences, to question charm, to never confuse charisma for character. I learned that love without honesty is just dependency wearing perfume. The best revenge I ever carried out was simple survival on my own terms. I saw him again last year at a hospital corridor, older, thinner, leaning on a cane. He looked at me and whispered, "Did you ever forgive me?" I stared at him for a long time, the way you stare at an old wound deciding if it still hurts. Then I said, "You taught me forgiveness by showing me what it isn't." I walked away before he could reply. The echo of my steps sounded like freedom. Today, I live quietly but entirely mine. No secrets. No pretending. I mentor girls who think silence is safety. Tell them that truth might wound but never rots. I tell them survival is not bitterness, it's competence wrapped in calm. Because when you've seen deceit early, you learn to filter the world better than any adult ever could. The truth I found at 13 still follows me, but now it's not a ghost, it's a guide. It reminds me that questions are expensive only to those living on lies. So if you ever uncover a truth too heavy to hold, remember this: its purpose isn't to punish you. It's to prepare you. And to whoever's listening right now, maybe you've seen things too young, maybe you've carried silence that was never yours, don't confuse endurance with peace. Speak when you must, act when you can, and walk away when they call it loyalty but mean control. Pain births clarity, and clarity is freedom's first language. If you felt my story, please like and subscribe. And remember, sometimes the truth that haunts you is the very truth that saves you.